Okay. All right, so section 1 talks about expressions, formulas. First thing we're going to talk about is order of operations. And I'm sure you've seen this before. The beginning of Algebra 2 is a lot of review with some new stuff in there. And then, with Chapter 3, everything will be brand new. So when we talk about order of operations, right, most of the time you have an expression where you're working with several operations, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and so on. And there is an order of precedence, like who goes first, and so on and so forth. And we've all heard of PEMDAS, right? So what do these letters stand for? P, parentheses, E, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. So remember that multiplication and division, you do them all left to right, and then you move on to addition and subtraction, and you do those in order left to right. Okay? All right, so let's practice with a few of them. So here I have a couple of expressions, and they've given you what M and Q are, the values of M and Q. So all we have to do is plug them in. So for M, it's 12 plus, so sometimes it jumps up. So 12 plus 3 minus -1 squared. Okay? You have to watch out for those negatives. All right? Those might, like if your bookkeeping isn't dead on, then you might lose track of them. All right, so what comes first here? Parentheses. So this is going to be 12 plus, and what do I have in the parentheses? 4, and I'm going to square that. So now what? What do I do first? Square it, so I have 12 plus 16, and that equals 28. Okay? Things that you might be able to do in your head, but please be mindful of the order of operations. All right, so here we have M, which is 12, plus 2 times Q. Now, Q is a negative number, so what should I do to it? Put it in parentheses, plus 4. So I have 12. Okay, so 12 plus or minus? Minus 2, so we do the multiplication first, plus 4. And now we have a subtraction here and an addition, right? And it doesn't matter, you just go left to right. So 12 minus 2 gives us 10 plus 4, 14. Okay? All right, so the other one is a little bit more involved. Now, A is 5 and B is -3.2. So 5 plus, again in parentheses, squared, right? Anytime you have a negative and you want to do something to it, put it in parentheses. B minus A. B is -3.2 minus 5. Okay? So what do we get here? All right, which one am I going to do first? The parentheses, so I have 5 plus -3.2 squared, and what do I get in the parentheses? -8.2. Okay, so what I have here is -3.2 minus 5. Okay, when you're subtracting, when it's two negatives, 3.2 plus 5 is 8.5, and you put in a negative in front. 8.2, sorry. Any questions on that? Okay, so now what do I do? What's the next thing I do? Square 3.2, and when I square -3.2, do I get positive or negative? Positive what? 10.24. Is it 10.24? Yeah. Yes, 10.24. Times -8.2, right? So now it's going to be 5 plus the product of these. How much? the whole thing. So 10.24 times 8.2 is 83.968. So this is negative. Right? Did everybody get that? Okay, and what happens when we add? 5 minus that gives us what? 97, right. So the instructions on the test will usually say round to the nearest tenth or a hundredths or a thousandths place. Okay? Any questions? Yeah. It's negative 8.2 times 10.24.
Oh,
right. Okay. So here we have a fraction bar, and I keep that fraction bar. Now, j squared, that's negative 1 squared, minus 3h, 4 squared, times k, over j cubed, negative 1 cubed plus 2. You see how I put the negative 1 in parentheses all the time? Okay, so what if you were on some desert island, stranded with no calculator, and your survival depended on solving this, right? And you don't have a calculator. So what are we going to do? What's negative 1 squared going to give us? 1. Okay, so minus 3 times, what's 4 squared? 16 times 0.5 over what's negative 1 cubed going to give me? Negative 1 plus 2. So here, now, 1 minus, so how do I do this? It's up to you. You can do 3 times 16 and then times 0.5. Or you can do 16 times 0.5. What'll that give you? 8, because 0.5 is a half, so half of 16 is 8. So now I have 1 minus 3 times 8, which is 24. Over what? 1. So the answer is negative 23 over 1, which is just negative 23. Okay, questions?
Yeah, so like see, for example number 3, not the first purple, but the second one, like the under part where you say negative 1 plus.
All right, so a formula is something that relates to quantities or a couple of quantities. So let's say you wanted something to relate force and acceleration. You want something to show you the relationship between mass and gravitational pull, or you want something between distance and time and velocity, right? Those are all formulas. Here we have a formula that shows the relationship between the Fahrenheit scale and the Celsius scale, right? So if you get sick and you want to take your temperature, right, with a thermometer, the number that you get is in degrees what? Fahrenheit. And your normal body temperature, if you take your temperature, what should it be? 98.6 degrees. Well, what if you're in any other country in the world? Paris, France, right? Well, it's right, and they use the Celsius scale. Well, over there, if you tell somebody my temperature is 98.6, oh my God, they're going to think it's a miracle that you're alive, because they will think you should have been dead like 30, 40 degrees ago, right? So what would normal body temperature be in the Celsius scale? If it's, 20s is way too cold. You're still dead there. 37. Okay? So our 98.6 is the equivalent to 37 degrees Celsius. So huge difference. Okay? So if you tell somebody, oh my God, it's 100 degrees, like for them, that's literally like you're in the middle of the sun. Okay? So this is the formula that gives you the Fahrenheit temperature. So the way this works is, you know that somebody tells you in France it's now 15 degrees Celsius. You put that in here and it gives you the equivalent in Fahrenheit. Okay? Now, what if though you're talking to your aunt in France and you say, oh my God, like I'm so sick, I just took my temperature and it's 100 degrees. And she wants it in Celsius. So now what we have to do is we have to rearrange this so that it gives us the Celsius answer. Okay? So that's the first question here. It says rearrange. This should say the formula, to get a formula that expresses the value of C in terms of F. Okay? So we're going to rearrange this one. Yeah. Yeah, you've done this before. Oh, yes, definitely. Nice. So let's see how we get there, okay? So F is 9 over 5. I'm just copying it over. So what am I going to do first? I need to solve for C, right? What do I need to do first to isolate C? What should I get rid of first? What comes before that? The 32. So the rule of thumb is start getting rid of things that are farthest away from what you want to isolate. So if this is C, the stuff that's farthest away is the 32. So I want to get rid of that first. I'm adding 32 here, so I need to undo it by subtracting 32 from both sides. That makes this go away. And let's see what I have on the left side. I just read this as F minus 32 equals 9 over 5 C. Now, how do I get rid of the 9 over 5? Yeah. Good. Exactly. You multiply by the reciprocal. Nice terminology, because this is algebra 2. We don't times by 2. We multiply by 2. And here we multiply by the reciprocal. So 5 over 9. And here, what do I multiply 5 over 9 by? Is it the F, the 32, or everything? Everything. So how do I say it's everything? Put parentheses, right? So 5 over 9. That goes away here. So now C is 5 over 9 in parentheses F minus 32. Okay? Like our chemist over there mentioned. Okay? So now you can write it like this, or you could say C is equal to 5 over 9, F minus 32. Either way is fine. What's not fine is if you leave out the parentheses. If you leave out the parentheses, there is no way you can get full credit. Okay? All right. So now we have two versions of this formula. Okay? This one gives us the answer in Celsius. This one gives us the answer in Fahrenheit. Now, here, part B says, what is the Fahrenheit equivalent to 40 degrees Celsius? Now, your cousin in France says, oh my God, I got a fever. It's at 40 degrees Celsius. You have no idea, because if you're at 40 degrees, like you're freezing, right? So which one am I going to use? Let's call this 1, and let's call this 2. Which one am I going to use for that B? 1, because I need Fahrenheit, okay? Need F, so use formula 1, okay? All right, so formula 1 says F is 9 over 5C plus 32. So F is 9 over 5. What do I plug in for C? 40 plus 32. Okay? Again, what if we're on that stranded island and you have no idea if this person has a fever? What are we going to do? Can we simplify these? What do we get? 40 by 5, I get 8. So now 9 times 5, 72. 9 times 8, sorry. 72 plus 32, 104. Okay? Time to go to the doctor, because 104 is like the limit. Okay? So 104 degrees. Questions? Okay. So this homework will be due next class. And this is one of the only times where it's the even ones. Okay.